Hello everyone, this is Loco S, and welcome to DCS World, where we're going to go over a first impressions video of the Kola map and the F-4E Phantom 2. Now, I did try to do a first impressions video just before this video, so I do have a Kola map sort of pre-made. I made the basics of the mission before the F-4E Phantom video came out, before the F-4E Phantom came out for release today, and then I went ahead and was doing the first impressions video, loaded the F-4E into it, and then ran out of memory disk for my recording. So, yeah, I'm definitely rusty at this, but it's time to shake off that rust, slowly but surely, and get to it. So, Kola map for any icons down here to set it up as your background. Standard map music, standard DCS music. It's a goodie and oldie, classic, kind of get you in the mood. Definitely a beautiful picture of the fjords. Let's see what the Phantom 2 has to offer us for a wallpaper, and probably one of the tracks from the soundtrack is going to play when we hit this, so let's see what we get. Ooh, yeah. That's sexy. So we're going to go ahead Ride of the Phantoms. That's the track. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the music only so that I can, the voice is a little bit clearer. Totally want to use some of the Phantom soundtrack videos. Totally want to use some of the Phantom and even the F-14 Tomcat music that Meteor has made to make some videos one day. Alright. Also, the Phantom splash screen is pretty cool. Alright, there we are. We loaded in pretty quickly. Thankfully, that's one of the advantages to loading in everything beforehand on your booting your PC. You don't have to have those several minute long waits to have everything load up. So, Kola map. First impressions from when I've actually played around with the map and the like is definitely there's going to be the need to have all your aircraft equipped with max fuel and ideally at least a centerline tank if they can carry it. We're talking about distances between even the friendly air bases of up to, for instance, like 90 nautical miles between Kemi and Bass 100 over in Finland right here. And between, say, Bass 100 and the Russian air bases, it's about 150. Going up also to then Norway, up here, another instance of another long base, you have like 175 nautical miles between Banach and Murmansk. So you're talking about quite a long range and wide combat area with not a whole lot of air bases currently in relative close proximity, which is kind of realistic. This area is kind of barren. There is a lot of woods. Let's see here if I can go to the map. There we go, the altitude view. You can zoom in here. See, there's definitely a lot of forested areas. So for the air-to-ground folks, for the air-to-air folks, by the way, having these wide open areas is going to be fun. So you can really get your aircraft up to altitude, and you can really engage in long-range Fox 3 and even Fox 1 dogfights, because you have this huge area where there's like not a whole lot of air bases. So it's gonna, you don't have to worry about someone like pulling up, getting to altitude, and then immediately having to engage. You're gonna be able to climb up. Form strategy, you have definitely a lot of space to play around with from an air-to-air engagement perspective. And also there's a lot of real-life examples for missions where you're going to be able to scramble from your Norwegian bases here to intercept Soviet bombers taking off from the Russian bases up here, up towards the North Pole, and then out to the North Atlantic. Plus you have Finnish. You're going to be able to do also Finnish and Swedish missions with like Soviet landing ships trying to come in and land this way. So you definitely have a lot of opportunities for naval missions, as well as also fighting off against Russian naval aviation, which are your Bear bombers and your backfires and stuff like that. Air to ground, however, is kind of a bit of a different story. Because while you do think that there's not a whole lot of towns, this is a wide open map, there's a lot of mountainous terrain and a lot of forested terrain. So it is the case that with and this is actually true to life to both the Russian invasion of Finland back in World War II and the like, is that you have a lot of forest and swamp and like lakes here. So it's definitely a lot of the air to ground. A lot of the ground battles here are going to be light vehicles and infantry, and you're primarily going to, as a aircraft, engage them on the roads. So there's going to be a little bit. You have to wait for basically a bit of break of the forest, and then engage your armored vehicle columns on the roads. Or what I also think is going to be likely is if there's a little bit of an open space, you're going to have to navigate to that tiny little bit of open space and engage light vehicles, infantry, and out in these little open areas. Or if you're going to be fighting armor, it's going to be around these towns. So as you can see, there's a couple of buildings here in the town, and then there's a couple of fields. So you're going to probably be engaging tanks here in more or less the towns and villages of the world, of the Kola Peninsula. Other than that, first impressions are definitely, at least from a mission editor perspective, is not a lot of air bases. I do know that more will be added in the course of time. For a start, this isn't too bad. And also, the good news is that the Norwegian bases have TACAN. So that's a good starting point for giving as a mission editor, having at least units that are only able to navigate via TACAN, having them have base somewhere they can take off and land from so they don't get lost in bad adverse weather conditions. Your Norwegian bases have ILS, which is a bit of a shame because our FA-18C Hornet has ICLS, not ILS. And basically ICLS is instrument carrier landing system, not a instrument landing system, so it can only work on carriers. Otherwise, we have high detailed areas. By the way, I should mention another thing currently right now is the high detailed areas are in northern Finland and the Murmansk region of Russia up here. So quite like this, like the Swedish air bases. Sweden doesn't really have anything going on, and also Norway doesn't really have anything going on outside of Banak Airbase here, or Banak Airport / Airbase, and some of the towns maybe around the area, like I think Alta here just is only Alta here is only just roads, even though the obviously buildings will go in there eventually. And then you have Bodo, which is out here on this peninsula, which is fully modeled. And this is probably the nicest area currently modeled in the Norwegian side, and it has Bodo Air Base with a crap ton of parking. And the good thing is that with Bodo Air Base, you do have a ton of parking for aircraft. And I did double check, and the game does, I believe, allow you to fit even aircraft as large as A-10s in these hangars. So let's see here from ramp. You just have you don't have the ability to use all of the hangars, but you can definitely use some of the hangars, and also some of these spots right here. Some of the hangars also have just pads that you can park in. So you're not parking in the hangar, you're parking in the pad outside the hangar, which is really nice because it allows you as a mission editor to have aircraft like the A-10, which don't necessarily normally fit nice and neatly into the smaller aircraft hangars, still be able to have slots at these larger air bases and be in the military parking section. So that's a good sign, and it does. The mapmaker did consider having slots outside and inside hangars for larger aircraft to park outside, but also giving some fighter aircraft spots inside the hangars so that they can park inside, like they should be. And that does make sense, by the way, that some of these hangars are pretty small. Norway only has the F-16C and now the F-35C, I believe, or the F-35A. Forget which variant. I think it's the F-35A, which is the Air Force variant. So they're not going to have, they don't need a super large hangar for something like an A-10C or a F-15E. They just need these smaller hangars for the F-16C. And out of curiosity, let's go to K-21. Again, K-21 is in this spot right here, which is out in the open. Thankfully, by the way, with the patch today, they did fix the hangar spots so that there should be no grass in these hangars when we spawn in. And also, for a bit of target practice today, before we get into our first impressions of the F-4E from a mission editor perspective, I did actually plop down a landing ship Rapuja out here. And I have it coming into Bodo to land. And we're going to try to sink it with our F-4E Phantom, or at least damage it. And that's going to be our quote-unquote mission objective today for training. Should also see, by the way, before we get onto the F-4E Phantom, they did make note, by the way, that there is a huge new asset pack that was added. Now, some of them are, some of these assets here that I have are from the French pack. So I'm going to go through each of these FARP ones because they're probably mixed in with the FARP thing. So FARP hide double mead. So that's like a camo net. That medium net. There's also a small net. Single net. And then a single small net. See here. Oh, cool! These are the various airfield equipment. Various airfield equipment you can place around. Let's see here. So yeah, a tractor to lug around all the equipment. I do believe that's Kerbo. I think the M92 is the Kerbo pack. So Kerbo's M92 pack might be, that's probably why they're called all M92. So there's the barriers. All right, cool. Ooh, some of these are really nice. Some of these buildings are really nice. I don't want to spend too much time here, but hats off to, not Kerbo, Kerbo did the skins for the F-4E Phantom. I forget, it'll come to me after I make this video who did the new assets. It's someone who I'm not familiar with, but he did an awesome job with these assets. Hold on. Oh, MRE. Cool. Cone. Container. Container office. And some of these do look like they're one-to-one replacements for my French pack assets, so I'm going to probably go ahead and... Thankfully, I did wait because for releasing all those missions, because now I can go ahead and replace those with these. Container watchtower. All right. Oh, that's cool that they have the generator that's shielded. Ooh, that'd be cool for a desert map. Tesco pose. The only gripe I have about these HESCO assets are that they have a sand texture. That way, unfortunately, that means you can't use them for and like these other like green maps, because that would look completely out of place. Jerry can. Ladder, nice. Alright. Oh, that's a template for the LAH carrier base. Again, more airfield equipment for different aircraft. Oil barrel. P-20. Oh, hey, here we go, revetments. That's what I can use. Those actually even look better than what I was using before. Sandbag emplacements. Oh. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, so keep on thinking like, oh, I'm going to stop any minute now because I'm going to run out. No, that's the crazy thing about this pack. They completely also went ahead and they went like all in on tents and the like, and like just a ton of assets. So tall wall times 6. Alright. So we're not going to put any of those down. I'm not going to look at the... I keep on saying I'm not going to put it down, but... Just, wow. That was legit impressive. I wonder if... Now, I do know that I think, well, he had infantry in that pack, I heard, but they're not going to include the infantry because ED wants to do their own thing with the infantry animation, so... Once we get the new updated infantry with that and the static pack, chef's kiss. Alright, 17 minutes in. Enough of the Kola map from a mission editor's perspective. Let's get into the F-4E. So, I did do a little bit of playing around before I did this. And holy crap, there are quite a lot of skins. Now, the good thing is, from a mission editor perspective, is that these skins are all unlocked. So you don't have to worry about the country. You can put whatever skin on whatever aircraft, which is useful also from a server perspective, because if you want to, that way you don't have to worry about the country slot that you're using. Your player will be able to pick whatever country they want to represent in the game or on the server. So here's a USAF 1. And it turns out that I recreated a loadout that they already had with the Z Clean. I was just trying to see if they can get rid of all the pylons, and yes, you can on the F-4E. You can get a completely clean F-4E with removing all the pylons, so delete the pylons task. Alright. We're going to give ourselves a task of nothing. We're just going to do a test payload. So, first impressions are from at least this already, because this is what a lot of the newer modules are doing with their countermeasures. In the olden days of DCS, you would actually edit your chaff and flare amounts through here, but with the new system, they have them in predetermined or preset amounts. So the ALE 40 is your dispensers, and they're right behind pylons 8 and 2. Or is it? Let's see here. That'll come important in a bit. So that's pylon 2, and that's pylon 8. So between those two pylons, or right behind those pylons, there's an adapter slot for a countermeasures bucket. So we're actually on the, it's not behind it, it's actually attached to it on the rear side there's a mounting spot. So you have options for empty dispensers if you want to just have the dispenser equipment loaded on. There's slots for just the flares, so you can have just flares. You can have the 30 flares, which is the maximum amount of flares you can apparently carry in the F-Phantom, plus an additional 60 chaff, which is the balanced loadout. Then you can go for a more chaff-heavy loadout with 90 chaff and then 15 flares. And if you're going to be doing seed, high up, where you're only going to be encountering radar-launched missile threats, you have an option to equip a whopping total of 120 chaff. We're going to go with a more balanced loadout of 30 flares and 60 chaff. All right, pylons we're going to be covering pylons 1 through 5. 1 through 4 are mirrored on the other side from 6 to 9. Countermeasures is its own pylon, and it's just automatically given between the two sides. So let's start here with 1. So 1 is the leftmost pylon. From the rear, it's the leftmost pylon. So let's see here. We got bullpups and shrikes. And it looks like we're only able to carry the A and B bullpups. And the A and B bullpups, or the lighter variant, they only have, I believe, 250-pound warheads. So we're just going to equip that one on the wingtip. They also equip AGM-45A Shrikes, so the old variant of Shrikes. In fact, temporarily, I just want to equip it. Aha! This is what I heard and suspected. Part of the reason why they wanted to, or they had to wait for the patch to drop with the update today, I think, is they needed to do something with the fusing options. Because, as you see, when they did the fusing and weapon options for the Mark 82 bombs and other bombs that they did in Wags' videos, Heapler also used that same technology to basically give the AGM-45A more of an accurate representation of how it was used. And how it was used was each AGM-45A has a different seeker head attached to it, depending on what you're trying to aim for. So instead of going through instead of having an AGM-45A Shrike and then listing all the variants as their own separate weapons, you go to this armament panel here. So pylon 1 is a AGM-45A Shrike. And then the RF guidance unit. So thankfully they have the Mark 8, they obviously have the designation like Mark 22, Mark 23, Mark 24, Mod X, yada 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 yada. Thankfully they have simplified things for us and told you what the radar is that it's going to go after. So the Mark 22 Banshee is going after the SNR-75 fan song. And then a Mark 23 that goes after like the fire can and the fan song. Then you go through 2 different seeker heads that target the P35 and the SNR-75. And then again, you have another seeker head that goes after the 75. This Mark III SNR-125 goes after the low blow tracking radar. So fan song, by the way, is the SA2's tracking radar. The SNR-125 low blow is the SA3 GOA's tracking radar. So those are 2 different ones there. Then there's a one to go after the flat face, which I think is, I want to say that's an SA5. And then the straight flush is, I think, SA6 with the S191. I'm going to double check because they actually do, I believe, name these radars in the radar section. And then Mark 50 has various radar installations. So this one's a more quote-unquote generic seeker head for the Shrike. But if you want to very specifically target a SA2 site, you want to take one of these ones that target the fan song. If you want to go after the Son 9 Fire Can AAA radar unit, you take this one, for instance. If you're going after a SA3 site, you want to make sure you take the low blow Mark 36. So there's definitely you have to do your research into what you're attacking for your with your AGM 45 strikes. You just can't load a strike on and just go out and hope it'll track the target. You have to make sure you're knowing what you're attacking, and then after you know what you're attacking, load the right guidance unit on. And then you can also then load in the attack profile, either a loft attack or a direct attack. And then you can adjust these RF limits. I would ignore that. I would just only play around with this. And then if you want to do a loft or a direct attack. Bombs, we have our standard selection of Mark 83s on a MER. You have CBUs, different CBU variants. We have the M117 surplus bombs from World War II. Practice bombs, Mark 81s, Mark 82s. Mark 82s with the bullet and snake eyes to make them high drag bombs. We have the walleye, which is thankfully underneath the bomb tab, where it should be. That's a TV guided bomb. Practice laser guided bombs. That's pretty cool that we got practice laser guided bombs in the F-4E. Cluster munitions, 2,000-pound laser guided with the GBU 10. GBU 12, 50-pound laser guided bombs. Paveway. Hobos. 2,000-pound TV guided bomb. Let's see here. Then we got a single Mark 84. And then we also have the target marker flares with the SUU target pod. For the bomb. So SUU-25 is the target marker flares. So you fly over a target and drop flares out the back. Like I showcased in my F-5E video, you can illuminate ground targets. And then you can attack with a TV bomb. So those are those for the bombs. Fuel tanks, you can take external tanks on the wingtips. As such. You can do different pods that are basically cluster munition pods. So you can use different, I think these are all different warheads. So you have high explosive, these are all high explosives. So different amounts of bomblets. Fly over the target, and then it will just drop out the back. This is a weapon that is in the A-4E. It's now implemented fully in DCS for the F-4E Phantom. And then you have the SU-23, which is a gun pod. And I do believe that they don't allow you... Okay, good. Well, there was a promo image shown in the manual of the F-4E taking 5 pods. The pods on 2 and 8 were disabled, and they were only meant to be basically ferry pods. So they were ferrying these pods into the combat area to like drop off at the airbase, and then they would be dismounted and then used on different aircraft. But there we go. The SUU-23 gun pod. Quite sure it's going to be something I'm going to enjoy using quite a lot. And then we also have rocket pods, which are good old Hydra pods, with the 19-count rocket pods. Actually, these I don't think these are considered Hydra pods. No. So it's the instead of the Hydra rocket, it's the F-4E, which is the folding fin aerial rocket. So this is a slightly older variant of rocket. See here, got white phosphorus, high explosive, and heat. Kind of pointless to take that much white phosphorus. It's, yes, you could use it to attack infantry, but you're really the only real purpose to use the white phosphorus round is to use it as a smoke marker. High explosive will do the job better than white phosphorus for that. Plus, you can use it against more types of vehicles. So I would only take the that if you had to. And that's it for the outer wing tips. Let's see here. Let's go for the B pole pups for the wing tips. 2L, 2R, and then likewise L8 and L8R are going to be for sidewinders. So for giggles, let's just put M sidewinders on. Go over on this side and then do a B pole pup on that side. 2 and 8 are going to be your inboard weapons pylons. That's where you have way more weapons. So you have options to use a special weapons adapter, which allows you to have your sidewinder still equipped. So you have it for the Shrike. You can have it for the Mavericks. A and B are going to be your TV guided, and then your D for your IR guided. And then as you see, if you equip the triple Maverick racks, you're going to lose the ability to have your sidewinders on there, so do keep that in mind. So A Mavericks are your TV guided, Bs are also TV guided, Ds are infrared. And then if you really want to, you can also then go up to a G, which is a large warhead variant of the IR Mav. Now it does look like okay, so it does look like if you're going to at the only things that allow you to have the special weapons adapter equipped, and then also have Pylon 2 available for you, are the Shrike and the A, B, and D Mavericks, at least as far as air-to-ground missiles are concerned, are the AGM-12C bullpups, which are, as you can see, the larger warhead variant of the bullpup. Whereas, again, that's a 250-pound warhead. That's a 1,000-pound warhead. Take up the entire adapter. So we're going to go ahead and put those on. And then we're going to go back up here and see what else we can equip. Bombs. Lots of special weapon adapters for all the different bomb types. Lots of different combination of different bombs. Pretty much just different numbers and combinations. Pods, ECM pod, rockets, whole bunch of different pods and different combinations. This is where you get your 7-count pods, all that fun stuff. 3, 4, 6, and 7 are going to be your Sparrows. Your regular E is for against bombers, and E2 is the dogfight variant, quote unquote. I do believe 4 is where you can put in the ECM pod, and then also your Pave Spike. Now, of the Pave Spikes, I do believe the Fast Smart Track is the upgraded variant of the Pave Spike. So you can equip either old style or either the old style, which is the Pave Spike, or the newer upgraded variant of the Pave Spike, which is the Smart Fast Track. We don't really need that, so we're just going to go ahead and put on F Sparrows. And then for our centerline pylon, can equip lots of different types of bombs, including the Durandal. And then fuel tanks, a larger tank for the centerline tank pod, more CBU pods to dispense more bombs out the back and the middle, and of course rocket pods if you so wish. Could do a centerline pod here for the gun, and this is actually what the Navy did. So the Navy Phantoms, they didn't have an internal gun like this. They had a shorter nose, and then they, instead of using a internal gun, they had a gun pod always mounted on the center line then for engagement. As you can see, it just clears the sparrows. So, for the sake of argument and to make sure we're maneuverable, we don't really need the center line pylon. So we're going to disable that. Keep our gross weight relatively light for our takeoff run. We'll go to 20mm armor-piercing incendiary, because we're fighting up against a ship. We'll see if that does anything against the Rapucha-class landing ship. We have our, once again, B bullpups on the wingtips and C bullpups on the inboards. And I will say, so far as terms of armament, this is actually going to be a very interesting aircraft, because especially with your 8 and 2 pylons being the special weapons adapters pylons, it's going to be some tough decisions and calls are going to have to be made between carrying the really big, powerful air-to-ground ordnance, but at the same time then losing your sidewinder missiles, or carrying a later air-to-ground loadout on those pylons at the but then gaining your sidewinders. So it's going to be some interesting choices for players to decide on their loadout. And with that, let's see here real quick. Nothing else over here that's too different from any other aircraft. I do know that failures are quite as exhaustive list of failures, similar to the Tomcat. Let's see here. The all-important preloaded in channels. So your preset channels can be loaded up in here. Looks like there's an ARC 164 COM and a 164 auxiliary. So you have 20 auxiliary channels and 18 regular channels to program in. I'll play with the radio and later on, because it seems like the radio is going to be a very interesting between a COM and an auxiliary. And it's a UHF, so I don't know if you can go down to VHF. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, it seems like it only lets you go into the UHF band. So that's going to be interesting, because I know some aircraft, like the Viper, have only one UHF radio and no VHF radio. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to make sure if you include Phantoms in your mission, to make sure you at least have some communication form on the UHF band. So special options tab. Aircraft condition, 100%, and aircraft wear and tear, 0. I'm going to leave it at that for right now. I do know you can play around with these values to make the aircraft basically more beat up. You can also have a reference aircraft, which is basically a quote-unquote perfect aircraft. You have reference alignment stored. You can store basically have the INS have a reference alignment stored, which allows you to do the quote-unquote stored heading alignment. And then allow night vision goggles, we can do that. Tachyhead channel preset, you can leave it at 0 for auto. So that way we know, since we're at this airbase, it'll automatically tune it to the local airbase. Tachyhead band is X. VOR, we can also program in the VOR ILS frequency. Have it already preset and loaded in. Encryption key, shaft double dispense. That's an interesting option. Oh, IFF mode, you have the IFF mode presets also loaded in here for mode 2, which is good. Laser codes, are all set up too for different for your LGBs. Either I think this is set up for your LGBs or this is set up for your pod. I'll have to double check on that. That's going to be an interesting thing to note if you can't change the pod's laser designation code when you're in the air. Because that's definitely, that sounds like something that an older aircraft like this wouldn't allow you to do. So you're going to have to make sure that, I'm guessing, this code matches what's on your bombs. And that's going to be on the mission editor, really, just because it's one thing if the bombs have the bombs have a code, and then because you can then, as the pilot, adjust the targeting pod's code in midair. But with this, it looks like the bomb code and the laser code are set on the ground, so that's going to be an interesting thing. In fact, let's double check. Let's go quickly. Throw on a GPU. Yeah, because you can set the laser code also there in the menu. You can have Navy bombs. You can have the Navy skin on those bombs, which is pretty funny. There we go. But we're going to go for test payload. So again, real quick before I head out, load into the mission. Bullpup. These are the Bullpup Bs on the wingtips. These are your 250-pound bullpups. And then on the inboards, we have the Bullpup C variant, which is a 2,000-pound warhead. So we're going to try these out on that helpless little ship out in the ocean and see what kind of damage we can do to it. Also, we could probably put a waypoint out here and out here for the sake of doing so. Take off from ramp. And I'm going to actually call this a video here because it's already 42 minutes long for my first impressions of the Kola map and the F-4E from a mission editor perspective. So to wrap it up, I will say Kola map definitely needs some love. And they've already in this patch did some bug fixes and did some improvements, so I'd be patient with it. They did say that the further along this map gets developed, they're going to raise the price. So it depends how much faith you have in Orbex. Apparently, Orbex has done a lot of maps for other flight sims, so they're definitely not a newcomer to the genre. They're definitely also probably an well-established company. So I feel like that's definitely in their favor. But use your own judgment and your own call. But keep in mind that right now it is kind of relatively barren in certain areas of the map, and also there is a distinct lack of air bases all around. For the Phantom, so far, lots of cool options. There's lots of cool skins that are currently available, and I'm quite sure the Ace Combat community is going to get me a ton of skins to review, and probably I wouldn't even be shocked if by tomorrow morning I wake up, I roll out of bed, go over to this PC, go to the user files, and there's already a Mobius 1 skin. I would not be shocked. So plenty of skins are ready, and I'm quite sure the Phantom is popular enough that it's going to get like every single skin available ever made. Also really cool with the countermeasure system being its own setup here. So it's an actual thing on your weapons pile on here. You can set that up right there. Lots of good variation of armaments. Lots of really good, challenging decisions to be made when it comes to what weapons to take, what weapons to not take, all that fun stuff. So this is definitely going to be a fun aircraft as a mission editor to design aircraft missions around. Ton of fun special options to play around with, but I can also see this being a bit of a challenge because you also have to consider making sure like things like your laser codes match up, your IFF codes match up, stuff like that. So with that, I'm going to say this is LockOS signing out from DCS World for my first impressions of the F-4E Phantom and the Kola map from a mission editor's perspective. Next time we're going to get in-game and we're going to fly around and we're going to see it from a player's perspective. Until then, this is LockOS signing out.